to be spotlighting the UK-Nigeria creative synergy. And I'm going to start by asking Mr. Mark my first question. Can you quickly give us an overview of what's currently happening in the UK creative sector, what the government is doing to support it, and how these developments could benefit Nigerian creatives?
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for coming today. My Deputy High Commissioner covered many of the points that I wanted to raise very eloquently, so I'll just share with you some of my personal reflections, if that's okay. I've been in Nigeria for 1 year, so I think I'm in a good position now to sort of share some of the things that I've learned and how I see this relationship evolving. And I'm very encouraged. I don't think that there's ever been a better time to work in my line of work in Nigeria. I think that I'm bullish. I see a lot of opportunities, and I see the creative industries as being one of the pillars that will underpin and deepen our bilateral trade relationship. What we see in the UK is very exciting in many ways. I don't know whether you've been following this, and probably wouldn't make a great deal of sense to me if you were necessarily, but there is a reason why what I'm about to say, it's relevant. A few weeks ago, we launched the industrial strategy in the UK. We also launched the trade strategy. And in those strategies, the creative industries feature very prominently. We've known for quite some time that the creative industries is one of the engines of the UK economy. The contribution it makes to the UK economy is in the region of £123 billion. It employs 2.4 million people. It's about 7% of the total workforce. And it has outpaced many other sectors in its growth. It's also one of the key sectors for us in our trade strategy. And our trade strategy, in many ways, gives us a mandate for what we should be doing in our embassies and high commissions the world over. We're a little bit lucky here, in so much as we were ahead of the curve. We've been supporting the creative industries for quite some time. And back in February 2024, we signed the Enhanced Trade and Investment Partnership with Nigeria. It's a very comprehensive MOU. It's the only one of its kind that the UK government has signed in Africa. And it's one of two we have ever signed anywhere in the world. And one of the chapters is on the creative industries already. And the thing I like the most about the Enhanced Trade and Investment Partnership is that it's a truly co-created document. So this wasn't the UK saying, we'd like to do this. There was a negotiation phase that resulted in the Enhanced Trade and Investment Partnership, and a number of sectors that both countries determined are key to delivering on our growth mandate. So I'm really excited that is one of the chapters. I'm really excited that we've been ahead of the curve for so long. And it's great to see Donna as well, the country director from the British Council. This is a whole of government effort. The British Council recently signed an MOU as well with the Minister Art, Culture, Tourism and Creative Economy. Back in March this year, Moja, you were there with us. Thank you for being with us. We launched the Creative Industries Working Group under the Enhanced Trade and Investment Partnership in London, and we have plans to do a lot more. We see fantastic potential in Nigeria. We think that Nigeria has the potential to scale up massively. Some of the figures that I've given earlier on about the UK, there is absolutely no reason why Nigeria could not attain similar figures going forward. And the UK is very much wanting to partner with Nigeria in that regard. So I see a lot of opportunities and I see a lot of synergies already. And some of the conversations that we're having with the Nigerian government. Last week I was in London, for example, and I had the honor of speaking with Dr. Jumoke, the Nigerian Trade Minister, and she was telling me that she's really enthused by the prospects of doing more on the creative industry. She's very focused on financial services, digital, the creatives, and those are the things that we are focused as well. Those are the things that the UK does well. Those are the things that Nigeria does really well. So it bodes really well for our effort to deepen trade that benefit both our countries. We've got a number of trade missions that we are planning for over the course of the next few months. And there's always, of course, the role the UK plays through our deep pools of capital, top talent, and the diversity of our workforce and the opportunities to support up-and-coming Nigerian creatives by giving them an opportunity to scale up And we're very, very happy and very proud to promote DBT's flagship program, the Global Entrepreneurs Program, which has supported Nigerian founders over the years, not just on tech and fintech, but also in the creatives. And we have the ability to issue visas as well. And this is not about uprooting talent from Nigeria. This is about acknowledging that the ecosystem is still forming in Nigeria. The UK has a much more mature ecosystem at this moment in time. So why not come and use some of the good things that we have in the UK, the deep pools of capital, to raise capital and then deploy that capital back in Nigeria, for example. So we're very, very happy to continue to promote the UK as a really good springboard for some of these creatives. But I think looking forward, we will see a lot more collaboration. We will see some trade missions into Nigeria, as well as taking some of the key Nigerian stakeholders to the UK to continue to forge those collaborations between our two countries. So I'm very bullish, and I think it's a great time to be here, great time to be focusing on the creatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark, for that. My next question will be for Veekee James. As an established fashion designer who has huge presence in your home, Nigeria, and across the waters, how would you see the UK and Nigerian creative sectors complementing each other today? And what do you think the future of that looks like?
Well, in a season where cross-cultural collaboration is not just valuable, but also very essential. Creativity is one of the greatest natural resources that Nigeria has. And Nigerian creatives are very original people. We are very unique when it comes to creativity. When we create, we put our heart into what we create. But something that we lack is infrastructure and access to global markets. And I say that because I am someone who built my brand from the ground up all by myself with limited resources, without access to funding. You know, it took a lot. I faced so many challenges. And this is where I think the UK and Nigeria collaboration comes in. Because from my perspective as a fashion designer and an entrepreneur, I see the UK as a hub that has mastered the business of creativity. The systems that have been put in place to help creatives not only get global connection, they have systems that have been put in place to help creatives also learn how to, protect their intellectual property, which is something that we lack here in Nigeria. I'm sorry to say, but I say that because I have had issues where, people and other creative copy my designs, designs that I worked so hard for, and, the only thing I can do is maybe call them out on social media, and I can't really do much, more than that. I think this is where the partnership comes in. And let's talk about the fashion shows, the UK fashion shows. If, as a fashion designer, I'm able to take my designs to the UK fashion show, I know that I would have more opportunities to have my designs seen by buyers from outside the country and different parts of the world. Like I said, intellectual property rights as well. And also connections, where I would be able to have contacts with, find myself having contacts with other talents from different parts of the world, where I'll be able to connect with investors who would be happy to connect, to invest in my business. And these are the things that we really struggle with in Nigeria. And if we bring these two things together, the structure that the UK has, the system that's been put in place to help push creative ideas, to help creative ideas to be scalable and sustainable businesses. If we bring that and bring the global connection from the UK, and then bring the originality, the cultural authenticity that Nigeria has, we bring the resourcefulness of our people, because our people are bold, resourceful, our people are confident. You can't find that elsewhere, to be honest. I feel like I have traveled around the world. For my age, I'm really young, I'm 30, but I've been to places, and I'm proud to be Nigerian because our people are different. We are bold, we are courageous, we are resourceful. If we bring these things together. We would build a partnership that would not only we'll find ourselves not only exporting talents, but also building deep value chains.
Thank you. And also for giving us the hard truths. Thank you very much. We need to be able to have these conversations, and not be emotional about them. So I'm going to come over to the beautiful Shaffy Bello. My next question for you is still looking at the UK-Nigeria synergy. In what ways do you think that different cultural perspectives between the United Kingdom and Nigeria can spark new thinking in design, in media, in fashion, in film, in tech, and the creative economy at large?
Funny enough, when I hear that, I hear rhythm.
Rhythm.
I hear rhythm. I hear collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell I'm a creative?
We can tell. We can see
I hear
you're
a
creative.
dance. I hear a dance.
Oh.
And when I hear that, for me, think about it for a second. You put a guy who's a creative or a woman who is a creative. We shoot a film. And the only place that you can have it is terrestrial TV. What do you need? Is a global platform.
Okay.
You need the structure. One of the words that has been quite common on this panel today is structure. Mm-hmm. And I think Woodhall, you have a thing to go about that. If you can solve at least 30% of that structural problem, bye. I think we're going to have, right?
Yeah,
we need structure, right? But the thing is, in Africa here, we tell indigenous stories. How can we make that a collaborative effort? We tell indigenous stories, and we tell it so well because nobody can tell our stories, right? But after shooting the film, one of the things that we want is a global platform, which was what a Netflix, a Prime Video brought to us when we shot Aleshioba, a Professor Wole Soyinka film. The only place to put it on was Netflix, and the world got to see a Pulitzer Prize film come to life. That is synergy. That is collaboration. Now, how does the UK-Nigeria work? How do we come to this dance? We create indigenous films as creatives, but we need their structure. We need their platforms. We need them to collaborate with us. So globally, something like Mo Abudu of Ebony Studio is now doing. Right now, they have now created, and that's with the help of the British government. They've now created an establishment, a film house, so to speak, where our projects can now be aired in London, which is wonderful. So our people in diaspora, we can now go there and feature our films, and we don't have to wait for the corporate movie theaters, so to speak. So for me, how do we do that? Fashion, even in fashion, Her Excellency is wearing a European design, but with African texture. That's synergy. And now you find fashion designers on the world stage. That's because now we can take our Adere and our designers can use the European structural designs, create them, and take them on a runway. Even in media now, the synergy is unlimitless, really. I honestly believe that the kind of synergy that we need and the collaboration that we need is something that Woodhall is now bringing to the table. We need structure. We need structure. We create the films. I mean, in Nollywood, I'm sure you stay entertained. Don't we keep you entertained?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. We keep you entertained. And for you that even live abroad, we have brought it to your doorstep now. And that's because of the synergy of having a great platform. So we need more of that.
I'm going to address the elephant in the room. When it comes to the creative industry and financial industries, there is a hesitance from the financial side when it comes to funding the creative industry, for good reason, of course. And, across, different territories, people see Nigerian, or let me not say Nigeria, creatives as people who are looking for handouts. And when you look at someone like Veekee James, who, like she rightly said, has built her business from scratch all the way up to where it is, and she's doing absolutely amazing. I know we all know that. What would you say? Do you think that this thought process is it true or is it a myth? Do you think that maybe the creative industry needs better representation in terms of approaching financial business discussions and conversations? And how do you think we can get there? So again, from your different specialties, for example, Mark, you can speak to it from a diplomatic point of view or from, global perspective, looking in terms of collaboration. What would you like to see based on these myths and conceptions that people have of the creative industry?
I believe we start from home to fix such problem. We start from home. And to look at a creative and think we want handouts, I think a lot of us are challenging that, and we're making a difference in doing that. I don't go on any project without asking for a contract. Yes, we get that pushback because, the people who came before us didn't have that structure. Yeah, they didn't have that structure, but the onus is on us to ask, and it shall be given. I'm not a creative that you can just drop or speak to anyhow, because I come with my own contract as well. I don't do any project. I think it really depends on how you face the challenges that you have in your industry. One of the challenges that we have is, as actors, I don't come back and ask for what's that word I'm looking for? The money that we get after we produce and royalties. That's because there is no structure. So you can imagine an actor that's putting 3 years into a series, and a series is taken away from you, and you turn 60 and you have nothing to show for it because there are no royalties. Those are the structures that we are talking about. So when you say a creative looks like they're asking for handouts, there's no structure behind them. How do they fight for themselves? Hence, we need the lawyers in the house to fight for us. And I think a lot of the things that we need to do also is to educate creatives about what is expected of us and what we can demand for. I demand because I educate myself in knowing what is rightfully mine. And I ask for backhand now. If you know, you know.
So I think Auntie Shaffy has said it all. I think the reason why it looks like most or some creatives are asking for handouts is because there's no structure. Because at the end of the day, when you put in all the work and it looks like you're going nowhere and you're just working and you're not, it's looking like your dreams and the place where you want to see your brand in like 2 or 3 years, you've already invested 2 years and it's like you're going nowhere, because even with social media, there's a certain picture that you have to paint to be able for you to be recognized as a brand that people would respect and value. And for most people, without funding, without finances, it would be so hard for you to be able to get to that level where your brand can be respected. And I say that because I started in Ajegunle, and if you know Ajegunle is like the roughest places anyone can start from and can grow up. A lot of us have big dreams. We just don't have the resources, like I said. I had a different upbringing from other people because I watched my mom work hard day and night, and that helped me and equipped me for my future as well. But most people did not have that. Most people did not have, mothers who had the strength to do that kind of work. So it will be hard for those kind of people to be able to invest patiently both their time, just their the little peanuts that they can get, into building a sustainable business. So the structure, like Auntie Shaffy said, is also important because partnerships like this, I think, would really help businesses, especially startups and SMEs. And that goes beyond, just the global connection. Also the knowledge, like Auntie Shaffy said. Because if with partnerships like this, startups and SMEs will be able to learn more about global marketing strategies, quality control, intellectual property rights, and just ways to things that they need to know to be able to build a sustainable business. And there's also the opportunities that will be open to funding. With the creative sector, we struggle a lot with getting funding because the sector is often perceived as risky and informal. So that there are a lot of things that you have to bring to the table for an investor to be able to confidently invest in you. So we need partnerships like this to put us in spaces where we're able to find so many options of investors who, who believe in long-term, values than quick wins. And lastly, I would say partnerships like this would also foster validation and confidence for creatives and startups. Because if I know that, my products or my brand is valued across Nigeria and, all over the world or in places beyond Nigeria, it would help me to build, it would help me to want to build a brand, build legacy, as opposed to just building for survival, as opposed to just working hard so I can survive. It would help me to want to build a business that would get so big that I would be able to employ other people. So that way there are job opportunities for other people. And so if the structure is in place and all of this is considered and put in place to help creatives, I think we would have less creatives waiting for handouts. I think people like to work.
Very well said.
Especially Nigerians.
So from my perspective, I'd like to take a bit of a step back and kind of look at the bigger picture and reflect on a point that my Deputy High Commissioner made with regards to the ecosystem in the UK. It doesn't happen overnight. It took a very long time for the UK to have the second largest creative industries ecosystem in the world. And it takes sustained effort to keep it at that level. So a few reflections from me. There is undoubtedly a huge amount of talent in Nigeria and a huge amount of potential. What for me is really important is to look at the various different building blocks that are needed for the sector to grow sustainably long term, to look at the grassroots and to equip people with the necessary tools and structure to develop organically and at scale as well. So this is where, from our point of view, when we're looking at the economic reforms, this is why they're so important, right? Because they're beginning to deliver dividends in terms of, we spoke about the cost of capital in Nigeria being really high. It is when you're looking at the interest rates. But now you're looking at Fitch, you're looking at Moody's, you're looking at the international community upgrading the credit risk for Nigeria. And that's why it's so important that it stays the course, that it makes some of these reforms, which are painful, but they will drive revenue that can then be allocated to things like healthcare, education, and so many other things that underpin the development of the ecosystem as well. It's really important. Education for us is also really important, to have the institutions that churn out the talent and the skill and the workforce, whether it's tertiary, vocational, etc. That is really important. I was encouraged to see the Nigerian Ministry of Art, Culture, Tourism and Creative Industry partner with the University of the Creative Arts, I think it is, in Surrey in the UK. That's a really good thing. It's really good to see that through the work that we've done on transnational education in the UK, yes, there's a couple of private schools. You might be thinking, what does that have to do with the creatives? The transnational education guidelines open up Nigeria to the entire educational supply chain in the UK. So you start with Rugby School, you start with Charterhouse, then you've got a university coming, Then you've got vocational colleges coming, and you start building an ecosystem. You start building that structure, which is really, really important. But these things take time, and you have to stay the course. And things will start coming this way. We have seen, I mean, I was in London last week for the Africa debate, and we have seen an uptick in international investor confidence in Nigeria. This is hugely important, just as it's very important, the soft power. And that's the role the creatives play. The soft power and the ability to influence people through attraction and not coercion. The trust that builds, the goodwill it builds, and what it does to attract tourism, investment from overseas. So things like what you do when you go overseas, the image that you project of Nigeria as ambassadors of Nigeria is really important, and the goodwill it generates. But it's all of those things combined, and it takes time. And it can be hugely frustrating because people here, as you said, and you're right, they're very driven, very ambitious. And, people quite rightly want to better their lives, and there's a lot of talent, etc. But it takes time. But I do see opportunities emerging. And we're very keen to partner, and we are partnering with the Nigerian government. We're doing a great deal of work behind the scenes with the means that we have, providing technical assistance, looking at things like IP, and availing ourselves to provide support where support is needed and wanted, and bringing delegations and bringing the two ecosystems together. So it's frustrating that it's not moving as fast as we all would like it to move, that Nigeria is not yet fulfilling its potential, but I see it coming, and I think it's a matter of time. So just stay the course, and it will happen.
We are here because of the UK and Nigeria collaboration that the Woodhull Capital is trying to help us with. Let us not forget that collaboration is not about who has more to offer, because it's sounding like Nigerians need so much from the UK. Let's not forget that it's not about who has more to offer, but what we can build together that one person cannot build alone.
And I think that is a great place to end the conversation. I'd like to thank my panelists. Thank you so much. Please, another round of applause for them.